So all of the Pilots of America people are fascinated by Rich, who pole dances. This is not camping.
He's got a Taj Mahal. Wow.
This is crazy. And then of course he's got a generator running off over there, and then a little pod over there for his Starlink satellite. So this is where all the Wi-Fi's at.
Yeah, that's right. Flying, camping, cooking, internet.
No cooking though, because you forgot your stove, right?
No, I forgot my food.
Oh. So Aaron, where are we going?
We're going to our Airbnb.
Oh, this one here, the Sidnaw Lodge? Oh, that looks fancy. How much did we pay for that?
I don't even know. This is where you booked us.
So the outside looks like this. If you go to Sidnaw, don't let the outside scare you off, because the inside...
But even if the inside was bad, you really wouldn't have much choice.
True, it's the only one. It's here or a tent.
Sidnaw's Airbnb.
All right, so here we are on day 2 of the Sidnaw fly-in at 6 Yankee Niner. So as you can see, we did get an Airbnb. There's not a lot of them out there, but I do think it's time to admit I'm past the age where I really enjoy camping. I'm not sure I ever enjoyed it that much. I mean, let's be honest, I'm a software engineer, and you don't choose that discipline by being an outdoorsy type or knowing how footballs work. I don't know, it's really not my thing. So decided I didn't want to camp, didn't want to sleep outside. The temperatures were getting really close to freezing out there. And as you'll see in a lot of the video footage, the amount of gnats swarming around us was so bad, you actually started to ignore it after a while. Like in the beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But after a while, it was just kind of like it's part of it. But a lot of the footage you're going to see is probably going to be really distracting. Anyway, to the Airbnb. We stayed at this place called the Sidnaw Lodge, which from the outside was a little, I don't know. If I saw it, I wouldn't call the number and book a night there. But I found it by looking online. Inside, it was great. They had 2 bedrooms, one with 3 beds, and it had a kitchen, living room, had Wi-Fi, which was like super fast, so that was great. So we stayed there and had a great time. If you ever end up there, it's just called the Sidnaw Lodge. Look it up. It's a great place to stay. So walking around Sidnaw on day 2 and just kind of exploring the area, you learn that this is one of the more beautiful places that I've ever been. You'll probably watch this video and be like, wow, Brian, you haven't been many places, which is fine. The trees out there are amazing. In Texas, we don't have these giant, tall, I don't know, Christmas trees. Everything seems like Christmas trees out there. In fact, if you've ever had a live Christmas tree, if you look at the birch certificate, I'm sure you'll see, yep, see, right there. They come from Sidnaw. Sidnaw, I'm declaring it the Christmas tree capital of the world. Breakfast the second day was amazing. There's this wonderful couple from the Pilots of America forum named Grant and Leslie. Leslie is an amazing cook, and she must have gotten up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get started on all this. Leslie, Grant, I'm gonna follow you guys wherever you go. Not because of the food, because you're lovely people. The food's really good. If you're new to flying, talk to someone who's been a pilot for a long time and ask them what their favorite thing about aviation is. When you get into it, it's planes, planes, more planes, and how fast can I go and what cool things are flying. It's really about the people, and that feels cliche to say, but when I go to these fly-ins, when I go to Oshkosh or these different things, I don't really watch air shows. I don't, it's about engaging with people. I really enjoy that, and I'm finding the more I fly, the more that's what this is really about. 6 Yankee Niner is a cool opportunity to meet with people that they're not going to come to Texas and I can't go, it's just not convenient. So it's a whole new group of people that I can really only see there. There was a little bit of flying. There were some of these cool, I'm going to call it a hang glider. You tell me what it's called in the comments. Some of our friends departed that day and I got their takeoffs on camera. Here's a really good friend of mine named Dana and his Mooney heading back to Chicago where he's from. Beautiful takeoff.
It was great to have you here. You know the way now, so come back next year. You have a good flight home.
Here's a new friend of mine, Jim Schilling from the Flying Midwest podcast. We're actually going to talk to him in a minute. Taking off. You can see the planes with slightly less power struggle just a little bit, but in the end, he's up and fine. All right, so speaking of people and speaking of Jim, who just took off, I'm going to do two things that are a little unusual for me, and we're going to interview a couple of interesting folks that were out there. So the first person is this guy, Jim, from the Flying Midwest podcast. So let's just jump right into it. So one of the cool things about sitting on like all fly-ins, more than the planes even, is the people. And one of the people that I got to meet, I've known you for a little bit.
Since like April.
From the Midwest Flying podcast.
It's the other way around. You always get it wrong.
It's the Flying Midwest podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I always get it wrong. And this is Trevor from... Oh, I get that one wrong too.
Yeah.
This is Jim. So Jim and I just got through flying. I was just doing some instrument training with him. And he's doing pretty good. So I'm only going to charge you like half price because it was fun for me. So you run a podcast, the Flying Midwest podcast.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So me and Trevor, who's my co-host that you get just confused apparently, we started working on this idea of creating a podcast to connect aviators, mostly around the Midwest, but we've got really loose geographical boundaries and understanding of what the Midwest means.
There's three of you though, right?
Yeah, there's three of us. So it started with just me and Trevor. And after our first episode or so, we brought Maddie in just to be a CFI first. And then after that, the chemistry was so good, we just kept her.
So with the three of you guys being spread out, how did you guys meet?
We actually met through a mutual friend that Trevor and I have.
Okay.
So he introduced me and Trevor because we were both individually talking about podcast ideas. And he goes, why don't you two talk to each other and maybe you guys can do this? So that's how we came together. And then Maddie has known Trevor for a while.
Okay.
So that's how Maddie got into the mix. And it was really, Maddie was supposed to be just an every once in a while quick little segment thing. But she's been great. And I think she really brings the chemistry of the group together. And
Maddie's fun. I haven't met Trevor. You might have briefly seen in my Oshkosh video, there's a little clip. There she is. That's Maddie. So if I ever see her again, I'll make sure that she gets more screen time. So real quick. Jim's got a friend here in his plane that's going to fly home with him today. You know these things travel in pairs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Super, super poisonous. Yeah. So you're going to be flying and that guy's going to go across your neck. Sorry, we get distracted.
It'll be fine.
Sorry. What was I saying? Oh, where can we find you?
Where can you find us? Should I have the sunglasses on or off? Because I just took them off.
I don't know, but stuff like that gets in. It's the meta stuff that matters.
Okay, I'm going to leave them off then.
Okay.
So we can be found either on our website, which is flyingmidwest.com. We're also on a majority of the platforms that are available for podcasts. So Apple, Google, Spotify. There's a number of other ones that I'm not going to remember, so I don't want to try to guess.
And this is the very first thread you posted on Pilots of America was, hey, I want to come to you guys' flying.
Yep.
So here you are.
Mostly because you told me you were going to be here. So
No, that's what I expected. That's
it's
really
part of
why
the
I
stocking
think the
that I've
only
been
reason
doing.
any of these people are here
Yeah.
is probably because of me.
So look up Flying Midwest Podcast, flyingmidwest.com, on Instagram, all the social media sites, and you'll find these guys. They have a very interesting podcast. I enjoy listening to it. I just finished listening to the one about this event because I'm slower at producing content than they are. I have another interesting person that I want to interview, Rich Wellner. Some of you probably know, actually a lot of you probably know who he is. He's actually fairly prolific on Instagram and YouTube. Rich is a very cool guy to follow because he flies to camp and cook, but he's not just cooking hot dogs over a fire or whatever most people would do when they're camping, which I no longer do. He cooks very elaborate, like Italian dishes and different things. And it's fascinating on his channel because it's a little bit of flying and a whole lot of cooking. It's just fascinating. So let's talk to Rich for a second. All right. So speaking of people, I'm here with Rich Wellner or Wellner?
Wellner.
And he's a people. You're a people.
I was a person.
You was a person.
Now I'm a pilot.
No, you're a pilot.
Yeah.
So two interesting stories. The first interesting story is you fly a mall. This mall behind us. You did fly a mall that got totaled twice.
Yeah. So this mall is an experimental mall. It was built at the factory using factory jigs and by some ex-factory personnel. But the interesting story is about the old mall, the La Naranja Danzante, who got flipped in a storm. The tie-downs got broken, and then when it was being towed to a place that was going to strip all the parts of value out of it, got into a car crash.
So I've seen photos both of your plane upside down or being lifted and with a crane at an airport, and I've seen it crashed on the highway.
Yep.
And so you are now flying this mall here. What is it about the malls that you like so much?
Well, what I like about the malls is that they're a good compromise. So they're not perfect at anything, but they're kind of fast and they're kind of short and they're kind of roomy, and they've got the big doors in the back so you can get things in and out of them. So and they're affordable. So that's they're a good compromise airplane. Is what I like about them.
Okay. The other interesting fact about you is you are a content creator as well.
I am.
So what is it you do? I know what you do, but tell them what it is you do.
Yeah, so richwellner.com, and I've got a YouTube channel that links from there. And I go places and I fly and I camp and I cook. And I don't do like camping food generally, so I'll go out to a field and a farm and make a coq au vin or something like that, and just really stretch the boundaries of what people think about as camp cooking.
So speaking of camping and cooking, what kind of food did you bring this year to this fly-in to cook?
Is this where we? So as Brian well knows, I was going to cook here at the Sidna fly-in. And on landing, got a text message from my wife asking if I knew that I had left all my groceries on the counter in Chicago. So I left my groceries in Chicago, and as a result, I've been going to the local restaurants here and just enjoying the local culture instead.
So where all can we find you? You got a website, you got a YouTube channel, you're on Instagram. Everything's just your name, right?
Everything's my name, and
I'll put links down there.
Yeah, put links down there or link
wherever
up
they
above.
go.
Yeah.
And when you say camping, your camping's a little bit different. I notice you have this thing over here. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so that's a Starlink satellite dish. So
typical camping equipment. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I've got a couple.
Oh, well, you know them.
Yeah.
Well, for the benefit of the viewers.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those guys who got into telecommuting about 12 years ago, so I can work from anywhere. So why wouldn't I choose to work from a camp somewhere? So that's my link to the university that I work at, and I telecommute.
All right. Nice. Well, thank you for letting me interview you, and it was good to meet you at the flying. I've seen you probably 4 or 5 times now in person.
It's good to see you again.
I like these flying. So good talking to you.
Yeah, thanks,
All
man.
right. Thanks, Rich.
All I have is a spoon, and the chicken just falls apart with a spoon. But it's not so overcooked that it's dry. It's super tender, super flavorful, absolutely delicious.
All right, and you can find Rich on YouTube and Instagram and all the social media sites just like anybody else. Just search his name. I've got links to all these guys in the comments. I know that was an unusual step for me, but it's all unusual, right? Anyway, those are 2 really cool people, and they have content that I like to follow, and I just wanted to share it with you. So check them out, subscribe to them, help them out. Following morning, I walked out to the flight line carrying everything I could carry and went to load up the plane. But of course, I got to the airplane. It was 39 degrees, and it was very moist outside. So what does that mean? That means there's frost all over the wings. Fortunately, Sidna has a group of folks that come out who de-ice your wings for you. It's awesome. At Sidna Airport, they've hired ice scrapers that come out and scrape the ice off your plane. Here's 2 of them. They have a technique.
$45 an hour.
Yeah, you pay for it.
Yeah, credit card.
Using a credit card?
Yes.
Well, probably 5-6 hours and we'll be ready to go. Yeah. So a lot of airports don't have that feature, but look at these guys.
We only take Discover.
Now, the truth be told, that is Brad. He owns the place and created this fly-in. And that's Tim, the guy I'm suing for stealing my Big Yellow X idea.
Right.
So, lawsuits in the mail, right?
Yep. The countersuit.
All right. So there were a handful of us left, and we kind of maneuvered our planes out into the sun to let it do its thing and kind of get rid of the remainder of the frost. This is my friend Andy, who we crossed paths at a lot of fly-ins. He's a really cool guy and a tail dragger pilot. We visited for a little bit while we were waiting for our wings to clear up. So what do you think of Sidna?
It's a lot of fun. I don't know why I've never been here before, but I should come back a lot.
Tell me about this plane.
Well, it's a 48 Cessna 170. It's not original. We have, there's an STC for the metal wing.
Cool.
The original one came with a rag wing. But the way you can tell is you have the dual struts. The 170As, I guess, had the single struts. It's got a Continental 0300. You can tell by all the oil under it. It's a Continental. But you know what they say is if there's no oil under it, there's no oil in it.
So the only thing really left to do was fly back home. For no reason at all, I was a little bit nervous going, okay, it's 2,400 feet, it's grass. I've got some concerns about a couple of parts of my landing gear that had recently been fixed. So, it turned out to be absolutely nothing. I watched a lot of takeoffs of other aircraft where people were using most of that runway and barely getting above the trees. So I had that in the back of my head. The Comanche does not care. We were up super, super easy. You can see here, I got those weird vortices spinning around my propeller, which I don't know exactly what causes that, but I love them. Takeoff roll is super short, and we're up in no time.
The flight home was really cool, super peaceful, super smooth. We went up as high as I ever really go in the plane. We were at 11.5. We stopped in Minnesota for some fuel. We took off from Minnesota and flew to Stearman Field in Kansas. They've got a great restaurant on the field. Didn't manage to record any audio on the trip home because I didn't invest a whole lot of energy into setting up the cameras. So I had one and I forgot to plug in the audio cable. So I'm painting a picture with my words. I hope you're envisioning the awesomest flight with the most butter landing at the end. And my wife just so happy, begging to go back the next day. So that's exactly how it happened. The door did pop open. It's becoming a recurring thing. So yes, at one point during the flight, I just hear this loud pop. And of course the rush of wind, I know exactly what happens. I don't think she even noticed, but of course me turning to her and going, nothing bad's gonna happen, your doors come open, probably set her off more so than whatever was going on over here. I had her lean into me so that she didn't, you know what happens when the door comes open. Trevor. So we made sure that didn't happen. I didn't really feel like landing, so we just flew to our fuel stop with the door cracked. I mean, it's not going to do anything. Once we landed, we got fuel, shut it, and everything was great. Maybe many of you have noticed, if you've been watching my channel, that lady seems to be in a lot more videos and flying a lot more with me in a new plane. I'm starting to pick up that maybe she didn't like that little Grumman as much as I did. But so we're definitely doing a lot more with the airplane now. But thanks for sticking around. This is a long video with a lot of different kind of components. I'm working on some more back to what I usually do for next week. Some really weird stuff, actually. But thank you guys for watching these videos. I know these aren't my normal stuff. I appreciate you sticking with me. Thank you to Gold Seal, Patreon supporters. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'm way more than I deserve. I appreciate it, how you guys help me continue to be able to do this. So, and then everyone who subscribes to the channel, thank you all very much. You guys fly smart, and I'll see you next week with some laughs, I hope. Click this link to see the most recent video upload. Click this link to see a video that YouTube thinks you might like. Click this link to subscribe to my channel.